Welcome, everyone. This is Glenda Dawson, and you're watching Glenda's Dragons Den. I want to thank everyone for watching us, for following us, for sharing this podcast every week. And also, I also wanted to give you some bad news. LD is also on another mission, and he threatened to be here next week, so we'll see. Uh, Tonight, we have a phenomenal um, guest who is also a friend of mine. We met through our sons, and she is a wonderful writer, a wonderful musician, a singer. I could be here saying so much stuff about her for a long time, but I prefer that she tells you all about her. Welcome, Roberta Pascow. How are you?
I'm good, Glenda. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Okay, it's the tell me about yourself moment.
Yes, yes. So, like we were talking before, and you were saying it's like school where you want to let
Yes,
everybody else tell them about
yes, let
yourself.
everybody go first so you can see what they're
Yeah,
trying to get. See?
yeah.
And
But
there's nobody there.
it's even though it's hard, that tells me that spiritually you are not letting your ego take over
Yes.
because you are very humble, and with that comes so much spirituality and such good energy. So,
You.
come on, let's hear all about
Okay.
you.
So I am a singer and a
Mhm,
writer. And as we were saying before when we were talking, it's really all about stories. I am passionate about stories. And it started out with writing songs when I was a baby, which sounds really not humble and obnoxious, but it's not. I don't mean it that way. My parents tell me that when I was a baby, that I would sing in the crib and make up songs and rock in the crib to the beat, and the crib would move across the room, and the downstairs neighbors would complain with all the scraping of the crib legs on the floor. And but if you're singing a song, you're making up a story. You're thinking about characters. There's feelings. There's emotions. And then it was playing with dolls as a child, and that's stories. You're making up which one is me, which one is you, what's happening to that character. And then I started to actually write stories, and that's also very gratifying. So I've been doing this forever,
mhm.
um, ever since before I can remember. Let's see. I'm also a vegetarian. I've been a vegetarian since 1975, and that's because I love animals, but I don't judge other people. Everybody has to take their own path. I'm not looking to change anybody's path. So
Very
that's,
good, very good. A lot of people have a problem with others telling them what to do, but yet they love to tell others what to do. And I keep saying, everybody on their own path.
yes, agreed.
We're here to evolve and learn and grow, and my path is probably not the same as yours, 99% I'm sure, but we may meet somewhere. We may cross paths. We may meet for a reason, but that doesn't mean we're on the same path.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think ultimately that we're all one. I believe in the universal mind. I
Mhm.
believe in the primacy of consciousness.
Right.
Um, but in this realm where we think we're separate, everybody has their own path, and I try not to judge. I
Hmm.
try.
Very good. So, writing, you said that you started to write. Now, what age were you officially starting to write all these?
Music or stories?
Okay, music. Let's start with music.
Okay, music. I was writing songs from the beginning, but I started writing them down. Writing down the lyrics and the chords when I was 15. I got a guitar for my 15th birthday,
Mm.
which was the best gift ever because it gave me this framework to put the songs on. The guitar
Mhm.
chords were this framework, and it really didn't matter that I didn't read music particularly well because I could remember the melodies by the chords, and I could write down the chords, and I could write down the words, and then the melodies would stick forever. I could record it on a little cassette, and have a record of it. So that was really the beginning of that. And then stories, I think, also all along, like I always liked creative writing in school. When we had to write a story, I never thought of that as a threatening assignment. Like a research paper was a more threatening assignment, and a story was like, oh, that's a vacation. Like, I want to do that. And
Exactly, exactly.
yeah, I actually wrote my first novel, which isn't really out there, but sort of is, I found out, although you can't get a copy of it.
Hmm.
Um, when I published this most recent one, I look on Amazon and I see my very first one that I started writing when I was in my 20s that got published by this fly by night publishing company that went out of business, and I never even got a copy. But somehow
Oh.
Amazon has a record of this thing, and it says out of print, limited copies available. And I'm kind of like, where? So I'm like, the first time I wrote a book that I was in my 20s at a job I did not like,
Hmm.
and I didn't feel like I fit in, so I really didn't have a lot of people to have lunch with. And I would go to my car and I would drive to the park and I would sit with a notebook and a pen and I would write into the novel like for my whole lunch hour, and then I'd come back to work. And then, many decades later, I tried to publish that one. That was the first one, but now there's self-publishing with Amazon Kindle and it's a lot easier.
Right, right.
It
Yes,
won't
and
disappear.
the work is actually yours instead of shared.
Yeah, yeah, because I don't even know if I have rights to the first novel that I never got a copy of.
Mm.
If
Well,
anyone out there has one, like photocopy it for me because I don't have it.
oh lordy, it's you can probably write to the Library of Congress
Oh yeah,
because
I
they
wonder if
keep
they put that in.
they yeah. If Amazon has a record of it, then the Library of Congress has a copy, and you could request a copy.
That's a wonderful idea and a good reminder that I need to send the new one to the Library of Congress now that it published. Because I did
Yeah.
get the number. I got the Library of Congress number for it.
Yeah, yeah. So I did the same thing. So this way, even if Amazon goes out of business, which I doubt it,
Yeah.
but you never know. Everything has its limits. I have a official Library of Congress
Yes.
number.
And
So
it's a way to just be out there. Like
yeah,
that was my feeling, is that even if I don't reach people in my lifetime, it's just
mhm.
out there forever, and somebody could be touched by something I had to say 100 years
Exactly,
from now, 200 years from now, 1,000 years
exactly,
from now.
exactly. Look at all the classics, right?
Exactly,
the,
exactly.
they were not great. They probably sold hardly any books while they were alive, but
Hmm.
then afterwards they exploded. So
Yeah, it's just a way of being part of this collective lexicon, and that's really
it's
what I wanted.
yeah. So now you said you got a master's in consciousness.
Consciousness studies, yes,
Okay,
yes.
and what directed you to get a master's in that?
I was looking for, now I did this, I got it in 2021, so this is recent.
Okay.
Um, I was looking to go back to school. I was looking to do something remote.
Hmm.
Um, and I wanted some kind of a spiritual degree. What I was really looking for was kind of like an interfaith clergy kind of degree
Hmm.
initially. And then I found Holmes Institute, which is wonderful, wonderful, best school. I had such a great experience with them. And they had this Masters of Consciousness Studies, which is kind of a combination of comparative religion and science as how it relates to spirituality and culture. And it's just a little bit of everything, philosophy, psychology. It was a beautiful program. I felt like I had a transformative experience. I adored my professors. I felt like even the classes, like, you have your classes that you love right off the bat, and you're, oh, I'm
Right.
so glad I took this. And then the ones where you say, what did I do? Maybe I should drop this. But even the ones that were threatening and scary, I feel like I got so much out of, so much growth. And
Mm.
like, I can't say that about undergrad, but this
No,
was phenomenal.
no, undergrad, you sat there and you're like,
Certain things about undergrad were wonderful, but
yeah,
not across the
no,
board.
no, no, no. I remember having this one economics professor who was monotone, and I literally learned to take a recorder, a tape recorder in those times, cassette recorders, and press record it just in case I fell asleep.
You fell asleep. Well, as soon as
Yeah.
you said, not to disrespect anybody's chosen career paths, but as soon as you said economics, I was like, yeah, that's not good. That's boring.
But you have all these courses you have to take whether you like them or not.
Yes,
So,
yeah, all the gen
uh,
ed stuff.
right, right. So that sounds like a wonderful experience, and it sounds like it was part of to adding to your awakening and your growth spiritually.
So
So,
much so, so many ideas, particularly in the last story in my book,
hmm,
the novella, the Be Right Back story. So many ideas from that really came from things I took from grad school.
good. Now, what's the name of your book?
My book is called Paradox Lost,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a collection of four shorter works, two
Yeah.
short stories, and two novellas.
Mm-hmm.
And they're each very different from one another, but kind of the underlying theme is the everyday person with the extraordinary experience.
So, can you tell us about, say, about one of them?
Well,
Oh,
one of them. Okay.
yeah.
Which one? All right. I think I'll tell you about the last one because that's the most recent. And
Okay.
that one is actually the main character is me, but
Mm-hmm.
not in an obnoxious vain way. And I changed her last name and I changed her birthday and year to make the story work. But it's a woman at the beginning of the pandemic when they first locked everything down and everybody was so scared and the whole world was just, it was
Mm-hmm.
like someone pulled the rug out from under the
Yep.
earth.
Right.
And so she's out walking her dog and she finds a magical book with a spell in it that will take her any place to the time and place of her choosing. And she decides to go back to 1968 to her childhood heaven of Nantasket Beach, which was my
Mm-hmm.
childhood heaven. And of course, what transpires is the whole complexity. You really, when you go home again, it isn't the same. It's magical and it's wonderful and it's different. You see it, you can't see it through your 8-year-old eyes. You're going to see it through your 60-year-old eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that whole story. And I had a blast doing this. I researched everything. Like if I had her look up and say there was a 3/4 moon in the sky, I went back through the records to see what the moon was that night to make sure that I was accurate. I checked the weather for dates. I checked prices of items.
Wonderful. Wow. Yeah, I could imagine going back then, the prices of things.
Yeah, that was the all the parts about shopping, about when she gets there, and um, I don't want to spoil too much of the story, but she realizes her money is no good there because all the bills have future dates. But she
Mm-hmm.
does get hold of some money. I won't really explain that. She does
Mm-hmm.
get to see, some of her own relatives, but she
Mm-hmm.
can't say who she is. But when she goes and tries to spend the money, how far a dollar goes is like blowing her mind.
Right, right. Yep, I can imagine that. So, so tell us about your singing career.
Oh, okay. Well, right now it's kind of on hold because although I'm still recording, I'm kind of COVID squeamish. Again, not judging anybody else or what they should do or how they should live, but because so much of my singing was done in nursing homes and senior facilities,
Mm.
um, I never felt safe going back because there's just so much transmission of pathogens in a
Mm-hmm.
collective living environment. And
Mm-hmm.
you can't sing with a mask on unless you want to suffocate. And you
Right.
have to breathe really deep to sing. So we kind of stopped gigging. We do occasional outdoor gigs, and I am recording. But we had started my significant other and I. We started working together in 1999, and
Mm-hmm.
we've been performing, all over New Jersey and around New Jersey. And again, like I said, mostly the senior care facilities because that's really where you could get the repeat work, and nobody's pressuring you to have a following. Nobody's just worried about how many butts you could put in the seats and all of that. It's not a high school popularity contest.
Right.
So, and we were doing music from the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, primarily like jazz, swing, and standards. And so this was music that the seniors could relate to. I'm not saying seniors,
Right.
like I'm in my 60s. What's a
Yeah,
senior?
I know. As a senior,
What's a senior?
I'm
Uh,
also in my 60s. I'm 62.
yeah,
So
it was
you
like
know,
they,
I,
they could relate, and it was fun. And so we were doing that, and then I started, and we did have a CD. We still do have a CD,
Mm-hmm.
and all the stuff on the CD is on the. Oh, there's the little. Oh, how cool! There's my
Yep.
little link. Yeah, everything from the
Yeah.
CD is there. What I did is I put it in bundles to make everything more affordable, rather than saying, "Here's my CD for $15." Like you can buy a song for $1. You can buy 3 songs for $3. You can buy 5 songs or six songs for $5. Just to like nothing in my store is more than $5.
Right.
So that's up there, and some newer stuff. I have something with called Love and Lullabies, it's all children's stuff. A friend of mine wrote a Jewish country song, and I recorded that for her.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that's up there. There are some witchy chants that are up there.
Ooh.
So there's
Okay.
all kinds of fun stuff, and all really, really affordable, and a very painless way to support a small business.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly it. Everybody supports the huge businesses that are really
Yeah, yeah, and I priced my book low too. Like my
correct.
the book, the paperback on Amazon, it's 9.99. I don't want anyone not to be able to afford something that I'm trying to share with love.
Exactly, exactly. And the what you wrote is stories that will inspire others. And if you keep it at a low price, then you could get more people to actually be inspired.
Exactly. That's really what I want, is just to kind of make people. I feel like my goal when somebody's reading my book is
Mm-hmm.
I want them to just feel like the world is a little bigger than they thought it was before, that there are more possibilities, that there's more hope, even if things are scary or dark, that there are these miracles, and there are these connections, and there's all this love that underlies it all, and this
Mm-hmm.
oneness that underlies it all. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's even so the four stories are so different. One I can hardly tell you about because it would be a spoiler, because it's got a twist.
Oh no,
Um,
that the audience will just have to get the book to
they'll
read
just have to
that
get the book
one.
if they want that one. One is a
Yeah.
medieval fairy tale, uh,
Ooh, you
about
do tell.
a
Do
young
tell.
boy coming of age,
Mm-hmm.
very, very poor. He's an orphan, and he's in love with his best friend, and he wants to marry her, but her parents, they're not having it because he's got no money. The village is poor, but they're like the least poor. And he hears this legend that there's this big castle in the woods, and there's a monster in it. If you can make the monster cry, you'll inherit the castle. But he's so gentle, and he's never harmed anybody. And what's he going to do? Because he wants to win his love. And how's he going to make this monster cry? So that's the
Mm-hmm.
fairy tale one.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third one is a little darker.
Mm-hmm.
It's this woman, she's a widow, and she has driving phobias, kind of like me, because I have some driving phobias. And but I'm thankfully not a widow. um, but anyway, she has a teenage daughter. Her daughter is at a sweet 16 party, and she thinks that one of the daughter's friend's fathers is driving her home. But of course, it's not to be. She gets the call from her daughter, "Can you come get me?" And
Mm-hmm.
it's a stormy, horrible winter night, just when you really don't want to be on the road. And she takes a little detour, and she ends up encountering this real malevolent alien from another planet who has very bad plans for her, and she needs to find a way to stay alive and get to her daughter. So that's the other one, the third one there.
Mm-hmm. Sounds very good. Oh, I definitely can't wait to read the one with the twist. That's for sure.
Yeah, I know. Well,
That's
I told you,
exciting.
don't tell
That's
anybody.
exciting. No, that's exciting. That is
I
definitely
had a
exciting.
blast with that. That was something suggested by one of my son's friends. He gave me the idea for that. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good challenge. I'm gonna do that.
So, now what do you kind of near plans, future plans? What do you see? Do you see doing a sequel, another book? Um, or is it already in the works?
Oh, okay. I definitely want to keep doing books.
Mm-hmm.
I have two children's books in the works right now, but I have an adult novel that I have started and stopped for a number of decades that I really, really need to finish. Really, really. And then I have an idea for another one. But I have one children's book that I've written the whole thing, and I'm working with a wonderful artist. Her name is Michelle Santuxi, and
Mm-hmm.
she is doing paintings to go with it to illustrate it. And when we finish the
Nice.
paintings, I will publish that one. And
Beautiful.
that one is about a little girl who's being babysat by her grandparents while her house is being painted, and grandma's napping, and she hears somebody crying in the woods, and she goes and she meets a baby Bigfoot, and all the rest of the story.
Oh,
Yes,
oh, I can't wait.
a baby Bigfoot who she befriends.
Oh.
And that one's called Emma's Secret, and that will be out eventually. Because you can't rush a wonderful artist. You want
No,
everything to be
no,
perfect. Um,
no.
so that's one, and then I'm also starting for kids that are a little bit older, because that one's a picture book.
Right.
For kids that are a little bit older, I'm starting a series about a golem. You've heard of golems, right?
Mm-hmm. Of
And it's
course.
going to be called Gershom the Gentle Golem,
Oh.
and it's about two children, two twins, a boy and a girl, and they've moved from Florida to New England, and
Mm-hmm.
and they're not happy about the move. They're miserable, but they find a secret room in the attic, and it has all of these. The house used to be their grandparents' house, and they find in it all of this Kabbalah stuff and instructions to conjure a golem, and they
Oh.
do. And all kinds of stuff ensues after that. So this is the first book. Gershom the Gentle Golem. A golem is conjured. It'll be the first, and
Mm-hmm.
then there are going to be hopefully more after that.
Sounds wonderful.
Lots of
Sounds
writing in the works.
good, good. Well, it seems like you've always loved to write, whether it be music or stories. So I was just wondering because I know that a lot of people write and they publish their first book and then they like get stuck, even though they have things already in the
Yeah,
others in the works, and it's a little hard to restart those juices
it
flowing. So that
is. I know. I mean, I know. And look at the one novel where I've just had. I'm like 80 pages in, and I've got such writer's block on it, and I know I need to just finish it. Just sit down and finish. And I
it's
keep
something.
starting other ones. It's like I think every other book I've written is because I'm procrastinating that one.
Yeah, I guess you have to figure out what it is that is blocking you.
Yeah, I think it's because it revolves around a Scrabble game, and I had it all set up on a board, and the board got knocked over. But
Oh.
I was able to recreate it. But it's kind of like, oh, I was at the point where I'm going to have to figure out a couple more Scrabble moves to make this whole supernatural thing happen. And then I just realized, really, just a couple of weeks ago, I'm thinking, well, I really don't. I can have the board fall over just like it did in real life and
Yeah,
have the story ensue anyway. I don't have to map out this entire game
there you
where
go.
she's trading
And
clues.
what's the best way? I mean, real life is
Is the
better
best
than
way.
anything that else.
It's the best way. And what's so wonderful is that the characters in the story really become references, people I can reference, people I feel like not like break with reality, they're my friends, but
Right,
there are aspects of me that are my friends.
right, right. So that's wonderful. That is wonderful. And now um you you don't do this. This is not your full time job, basically.
No, when
Right.
I was gigging, when I was doing music gigs, I considered it to be a full-time musician, but I also work from home as a writer. I write articles,
Mm-hmm.
like nonfiction articles, and I have done that for about 20 years at this point for various companies.
Wow, that's very good. That is very good.
Oh yeah, my stuff is it kind of makes me laugh. It's kind of syndicated all over the place.
Well, it's good. It must feel good to see that
Yeah,
all
it's kind of
around and
nice.
yeah.
And I hope that when I get assignments from work to write an article, I always hope that the information helps people. I always try to do it from that perspective, that they're learning something that's going to make their life easier or better, or at least less difficult.
Very good. Very good. So, are you able to tell us some of the stuff that you have?
Like what I write about?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Recently for work, I've been writing a lot of articles about like Medicare and Social Security. I do whatever I'm assigned. It's
Right.
people will say like, "Oh, are you willing to take this topic?" Go, yeah, this is my job, and you're giving me an assignment. Of course, I'm going to do it. Um, let's see, I've done a lot about estate planning.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really where, like this past year, and I also fact check for the company I work for. I do some fact checking as well, and
Good.
I love fact checking. It's like meditation.
Mm-hmm.
I could just fact check because it doesn't feel like work to me. I know that
Mm-hmm.
sounds crazy. Fact checking just is very relaxing to me. So I do that. Let's see. Uh, I can talk about a company I don't work for anymore in terms of articles I did not enjoy writing.
Okay.
The two hardest articles I ever had to write, which were for both of the companies are not in business, so I can't hurt or offend anybody by saying I didn't like these topics. One was about Wago beef, and I literally cried when I had to write about how they finished the beef. Like what they do with the cow and how the cow is in a confined space and can't move at the end of his or her life, and how they make the cow drink beer. Well, I guess the cow probably doesn't hate drinking the beer, but it changes the quality of the meat when the cow drinks the beer, and they massage the cow so the cow was like penned up and massaged and drunk. And I was crying when I wrote it. I got so
Oh.
upset.
Oh.
But I did my work. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a dependable employee. I do my work. I turn it in,
Mhm.
and I do not ever complain to my employees saying I hated this.
Right.
Uh, and then the other one I found really difficult was an article I was given, and this probably was close to 20 years ago, about guns.
Mm.
And I didn't know what to do with it because I'm not a violent person, and I've never shot anything but a paintball gun.
Mm-hmm.
Although I wouldn't mind doing target practice. Like I don't have a moral problem with doing target practice.
Yeah.
I think that might be fun. I would
I,
really
I, I
go
do
range.
target. I do target practice,
Yeah, I
and
think that would be
it's a
kind of
lot of
fun.
fun. It's kind of like the paintball, it's just hitting the
Yeah.
target. That's the
But
same.
like writing about like the gun specs was really dreary. So I
Good.
found the only way, and that this company I worked for many years ago, they gave me a lot of leeway with what I did with the article. So
Right.
what I did is I took all this boring stat, and I turned it into a history. And I talked more about the historical context that the guns were made in, and that this style was made in this his period of time, and this is what was going on. And then came this one, and then this innovation got
Also,
around it.
sounds interesting. Even if you didn't like it so much, you made it into something that worked for you,
Exactly.
and definitely sounds very interesting.
Yeah, I tried to
The
make it
history
interesting.
of it. Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful. Now, what what got you to do this book, really?
To do this book.
So, yeah, this one, the one that you published.
Okay. So what got me to do this book was I was really called, sounds obnoxious, but I was really called to write the last story, the time travel story that takes place during the pandemic to
Okay.
1978. Um, and every time I set out to write a novel, it comes out to be a short story or a novelette. That's just, this is what the divine gives me. The divine gives me shorter works. And I
Right.
finished this, and I really want to put it out there. And then I realized, it's not long enough to put out by itself
Right.
because it's a novella. It's
Right.
not a full novel.
Hmm.
And so I realized I have all these other works sitting around. Why don't I put them together? And at first I'm thinking again, like, well, do they even fit together? Each one is such a different kind of a theme. But then
Hmm.
the overall theme is the extraordinary stuff for the ordinary people.
Right.
And really the power of love. They're all about the power of love, every single one of those stories. So I was like, okay, they really are all about things that are paradoxical, and that's why I gave the book the title Paradox Lost. So
Hmm.
that was the thread that tied them together, and that was what compelled me to do this. And then when I found out that you can publish on Amazon and that they don't require money up front, I
Hmm.
just have to pay the formatting company
Right. Right.
because I don't know how to format. And it was like, oh, this is very accessible. I can really do this
Right.
and feel like I left some kind of legacy, like I left some kind of mark on the planet,
Right.
which I guess everybody wants to do, even if they're not vain and obnoxious. It's kind of just it's in our DNA. We want to leave something behind.
Right. Right. It's we all want other generations and other people to learn what we've learned.
We want to touch
Right.
somebody else. Like I remember when my dad was alive, he one of the things that he said to me that made me feel the most heard and understood was I had played him a song I wrote. I was a teenager, and he says, "Your songs are all about communication." I was like,
Mm.
"Yeah."
Hmm.
No, and he got that. He got that it was all about this is how a person who's a little shy communicates.
Mm, very good. Very good. So, and now, your mom and your dad, uh, you became spiritual more and vegetarian and all that. So, were they supporting you, or were they kind of hesitant, or did they just said, "Okay, you do you," basically?
They were totally respectful. My dad teased me because my mom was raised vegetarian, but she rebelled by eating meat as a teenager. And like, oh, please don't tell my dad, you know. She went to a restaurant and ordered tuna fish. That was the big rebellion. Um, so she really understood it.
Right.
And my dad, even though maybe he didn't understand it as well, he respected it and he would just tease me and say, oh, this is the mutation that skips a generation. And it does because my kids immediately rebelled and ate meat. As soon as they went to elementary school, as soon as they could get school lunches, that was it. They were ordering meat.
And there you go.
There you
And
go. But
there you go.
if they ever have kids, which neither of them plans to, I
Uh-huh.
bet we get some little vegetarians there.
It, I look at it this way: it's grandma's influence.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all.
So
Yeah.
much. Yeah. So much. I feel like because I knew about vegetarianism growing up, and
Mhm.
when we would visit my grandparents in their beach house in Nantasket Beach, Massachusetts, we would be vegetarian while we were there, except that my dad would want meat so bad we would like sneak out and go to a restaurant sometimes. And then he could get his seafood or his burger or whatever. But we didn't bring meat in the house. And,
Right.
whatever we ate with my grandparents, it was a completely vegetarian meal.
Mm. So you probably learned a lot of the cooking from your grandparents.
I did. I learned a lot and a lot about label reading and about like little ingredients that you wouldn't necessarily know were animal based, but that they are, and what to
Mm.
look for. So when I became vegetarian, I knew how to read labels and I knew, oh, like I can't have that marshmallow because it has gelatin in it.
Mm-hmm. Mm, very
That's
good.
made out of an animal hoof.
Right.
I can only have kosher gelatin, which is made out of seaweed.
Okay. Look at that. See, I didn't know that one.
I
That's
learned
very
all
good.
of yeah. If you ever want vegan marshmallows, they're called dandies. They're awesome.
Really? Ooh,
Yeah,
okay. I'm gonna have to look for them.
yeah,
Now,
they're really good. You can get them on Amazon. Boy, we're really plugging Amazon
Amazon.
today.
We're giving them a free commercial.
Yes, yes, you can get dandies on Amazon.
Okay. So, now how did you start your actual gig singing career? I mean, was it just like
Singing.
you and your partner, your other half, just decided to do it, or was it that you
Oh,
were
I didn't
both?
even know him yet. I
Okay.
was still. This was before my divorce. I was still married,
Mm-hmm.
and I just remember I was giving my older son a bath and he's in the tub and I'm singing to him from The Little Mermaid. I'm singing that, part of your world song.
Right.
And we're making his hair stick up like a fish, like the top of a fish with the shampoo and all of that. And I'm singing to him. And it came to me. It was like, I'm a singer. I've been a singer ever since I was born. And it doesn't matter if the only person I'm singing to is my kid in the bathtub.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a singer. And at that point, I put up a notice in a music store and I was looking for a guitarist to work with. And the first guitarist I worked with isn't the one I ended up working with long term, but he introduced me to the one who eventually became, the love of my life and my
Oh,
musical
wow.
partner.
Wow. That is awesome. It's
Yeah,
how the everything happens for a reason there.
for a reason. And so we started out kind of like cover bandy kind of stuff, and then we got asked to do something for a senior group at a temple, and
Mm-hmm.
then we started learning all these jazz things, and the two of us just loved that.
Good. Good. Yes, it is hard. I have volunteered myself for assisted living and that type of thing. But it is ever since COVID hit, it's very hard because
Yeah.
at any point they could have a
An
a little
outbreak.
an
We've had
outbreak, and you could be in the middle of it and not even
and
realize
not
it.
even know it. You could not even know it. We have been booked for outdoor gigs in, assisted living and senior facilities, and then I get the call, "Oh, we had an outbreak. You can't come."
Right, right, yeah,
So we
no,
went from doing about 3 gigs a week to doing like two a year. It's really,
it's
it's.
hard.
I try not to grieve it too much, but I feel like the world has just been altered beyond measure, and it
Mm,
really may never be the same. Um,
mhm.
and I know I was more COVID squeamish than the rest of the world. Everybody thinks I'm nuts. I'll be, it's okay. Think I'm nuts. But I really didn't go anywhere for like 3 years, and now I go places again. I just wear a mask. But
Right,
if I'm going somewhere, I just put a mask on. But um, I don't know if the world's ever going to be such that that won't be the case.
yeah. It has changed, and it was predicted that there was going to be some major change at
Major
some point,
changes. And
and
it's,
it
yeah,
is.
and all change brings grief. It,
Yeah,
it really does. We grieve all change. And I hope that the world heals in my lifetime, but more important that it heal, even if it heals after my lifetime.
right, right, yeah. No, it is hard, and um, even now you hear about a lot of a big outbreak again because of all the holidays. Everybody getting
Hmm.
together, people going to New York,
Yeah,
going here,
yeah.
going there. So it's even if you worked out of the house.
You can still get it because I
Yeah,
got it.
yeah,
I had it in September, literally doing nothing, working from home, putting a mask on anytime I went in a store. And, you have one family member over for dinner and they don't know they're carrying it, even though they tested because they know you're squeamish and, a scaredy cat.
yeah.
And I got it. Thank God, thank Goddess, God, Mother, Father, God, Shekinah. I had the mildest case, but everybody in my family, the rest of the people who got it, they were so sick, but not dangerously sick, just miserably sick.
Right, right. Yeah, and um and it's potluck. You just don't know.
You just don't know, but it's so pervasive. It's so out there that if living as isolated as I lived for, three and a
Oh,
half years or whatever
right.
it is, going on 4 years now, if I could have one person, one family member over for dinner and that's all it took, that
Yeah,
really tells you how much the world has changed.
yeah.
I feel really blessed that my case was so mild. I'm not sure why. I mean, I've read things that say that a plant based diet can give you extra, I don't know. I mean, it
Right,
sounds weird and arrogant to say that, but
right.
it's like for whatever reason I was blessed. I'm grateful I was blessed, but I'm sorry that the rest of my family that got it suffered.
Yeah, and there's also another article that I read that says typo blood gets it less, and they're
Oh, right,
more.
type O blood, right.
Yeah, they're
Type
more
O blood
immune
gets
to
it
it. So,
taste or
and it's
whatever.
like, yeah, I don't know. I just feel that if you're going to get it, you're going to get it,
Yeah,
and it's just hope for the best, I
I
guess,
just
right?
hope for the best. So I'm
Yeah.
still careful. I'm not
Hmm.
completely, I don't completely stay at home like the crazy old lady with the dog who never leaves the house. I do go places, but I just mask because I don't want to get it again. I
Yeah,
feel
and
like I
you
don't
may
want to
be,
push
and you,
myself.
God forbid, you're carrying it without realizing, even though it doesn't
I don't want to
affect
give it
you.
to anybody.
Exactly.
Exactly. I don't want to give it to anybody. The miracle is like that my mom didn't get it because she was exposed, and she's the only one that didn't get it. The
See,
family.
and that's what
Thank
I'm
God.
saying. You
I'm
just
so
never
grateful.
know.
So grateful. I would have it a million times to save her, to have her never get it.
Right, right, right. Oh, I understand that. I understand that. So now, you, while all this is happening, you're having regular life. You're having, you got married, you had kids, you got divorced, you found your other half right now, your partner, and how did you tell everybody right away that did you let them know right away that you were into writing, you were into all that, or did it take you a little bit? Because I know that some people, even though they're out there with the writing and the singing and all that, it's like, I want to hold that. So,
I always told people, but I'm not sure I was always taken seriously. There's something, again, I think it's in human DNA to, if you know somebody personally, to not take seriously their creative endeavors. Like you only take strangers' creative endeavors seriously. And I don't know what that is. And I don't know, but somehow with this book, I feel like people are taking me seriously. And it's kind of blowing my mind like, oh, I'm blinking. Am I going to wake up? Is this a dream? Because, like, I think people are taking me seriously and not saying, you, this, and professional author, that, you know?
right.
But yeah, I was always out there about being singing and writing songs and writing stories. And I think in some ways that separated me from people and made me the weird one. But no regrets, you know.
Yeah. Well, you were born with that gift because I mean, even like you said, your parents said that even while you were in the crib,
Yeah,
so you were natural for it. You
it
were
was always,
destined for it.
always. I don't remember the crib. You know, that's
Right.
like someone told me that story. If it's a lie, I can't tell you that I don't remember. But what I do remember is being about 3 years old, and I had, I guess it was one of those, not, was it roseola or one of those little childhood diseases things that you get. And I
Right.
had a really high fever. And so my parents put me to bed, and to keep me entertained, they gave me a whole bunch of like headbands and hair clips and things, and a mirror to play with. So, because you could do that laying in bed.
Right.
But what I did, it was stories. And this, I remember this. Each time I put a different thing in my hair, I was a different character, and I'd make up a song and I would sing who I was. I was like 3 years old. So I don't know where that comes from or what I did in another life, you know, but
Very good.
it's always been there, whether anyone else embraces it or not. It's just there. And I could try to squelch it because I could say, well, no one cares about it. I'll just not do it. But it always comes back, and I'm always driven to do it. It's like a compulsion.
Well, because that's you,
Yeah, exactly.
and you're trying to please others instead of please yourself.
Yeah.
You
And I
came
have to be doing this to please myself. I have to.
right. You came into this lifetime for that
Yeah.
because you have through your music, through your writing, through your singing, you heal others, even though they don't realize it. You
Thank you. That's
know,
so
it,
sweet.
that's what those gifts are for.
I've had
And I,
people say that about the songs, which is really like touches me so much. People will be like, something about your voice is really soothing and healing, and it makes me feel better. And like, that makes my day. Like, thank you.
well, that's why it was given to you. And you know, I keep telling people don't stop doing something you have passion for because somebody doesn't recognize it or acknowledge it or
Yeah.
even want you to do it because humans are just strange creatures.
Aren't we though?
Oh, Lord, yes, we
Oh,
are very strange creatures.
and I'm always saying, well, if we're all one great body, and then you think of the people that, aren't very nice, and well, someone has to be the, let's leave out the word that I shouldn't say on a
Right.
podcast. Someone's got to be that part of the body
Right.
because that makes a complete body.
Sort of in the back.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Like the first primordial human that was supposed to be all of us, all our souls are supposed to have been in that primordial human, you know.
Right, right. Somebody's got to land somewhere in the body.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
guess those are the ones that land there. But yeah, when one has a passion and one is born with a gift like that or gifts like that, it would probably get you sick if you squash it, if you stop it,
yeah.
because that inside of you is natural and that part of you, it would probably, I've heard of people that would make them depressed. It would give them physical illnesses. I've heard
Hmm.
of people that, would write music and sing and then all of a sudden they stop and then they would actually get physically ill, like the, you know, their stomach or whatever.
Yeah,
And I'm like, that's because you're trying to be someone you're not.
exactly. Or just depressed, just so depressed and no energy and tired
Right.
and nothing has any meaning. And
Exactly.
because if you're called to create, and it's not a question of whether you have talent or you're better than anyone else, but if you're called to create, you got to create.
Hmm. It's like an artist trying to stop painting.
Yeah, and it comes out one way or another. Like I remember when I was much younger, getting like a upper respiratory virus, and I had laryngitis, and I was like, well, what do I do if I can't sing? And it was really before I was writing stories, and I started drawing then. And I really
Hmm.
wasn't very good, but something had to come out. I had to
Right,
draw. You know,
right.
what'll I do if I never have a voice again? Well, I have to draw. So I was drawing.
Very good. So you knew you had to get that out, and you knew that you needed to help others and
Yeah,
find a way to send the message of healing out to
yeah,
others.
absolutely.
That's wonderful. That's amazing to me. That's amazing that you recognize it and that you're willing to go back to it, even with the pandemic and even with the COVID and all that other stuff. You still continue one way or another.
Yeah,
So
writing that story was so cathartic, the time travel story. I as soon as I was like 2 or 3 pages in, and I'm writing, and it's like that part is in first person, and that character's really me. That the
mhm.
feeling of getting up in the morning when you're on lockdown, and how everything just kind of sucks, and
Yeah.
but I realized how incredibly cathartic and how many feelings
Mhm.
came out that had to come out when I was just writing that beginning section before any magic even happens.
Right, right.
And then again, taking having the character take the trip back to Nantasket Beach, Massachusetts in 1968 was like getting a chance to go there myself. It really
Right.
was, because mentally I was there. It was
I can
awesome.
imagine. I would go there too.
And finding the characters that this character meets there.
Mhm.
Some of them are old family, but some of them are new characters that just happened for the book, and they happened so spontaneously. It was amazing. There were 3 teenagers that she meets that I really planned to be. I really meant them to be more like archetypical, like symbolic, like for a
Mhm.
hero's journey, and they do have symbolic, but they became so real, and I don't even know where they came from, but they came from something outside of me, and they needed to come through that story, and now there they are.
There you go. And I am sure that when people read these stories, they see part of themselves in it.
I hope so.
And I'm pretty sure they're going to heal, find something to heal.
I hope so.
Um, oh, I am sure because just the way you express yourself, how much passion you put into it, and the feelings and the emotions and the the surprise, the twist, and all that.
Yeah.
I am really, I really believe that this book needed to come out, and
Thank you.
a lot of people are going to read it and find themselves in similar situations. Sometimes we may not be able to go somewhere, but we can envision ourselves there and heal
Yeah.
from it
Yeah.
and heal from that moment. Especially when we were all in lockdown, we kind of had to just
Oh, I
imagine where we
know.
wanted to go.
I feel really blessed that I naturally know how to live in my head, because I think it was a lot harder on certain other people
Yes.
that are very used to being out in the world, and I like it in my head. It's fine. I don't have a problem with it. So you can travel. You can go to one end of the universe to the other in your head.
Exactly, exactly. And that I think comes from reading a lot of books. Like
Yes.
when I was young, I still do read, but now time is a little difficult. But I used to just sit there and read the whole book. And I once you start a good book and it's like you can't put it down. You just have to
Right. I
continue.
love to read. Oh,
Yeah.
that's how I start my day, and that's how
Hmm.
I end my day. Is always with a book.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just it shows you. I mean, and people say, "Oh, I can't get to the library." For goodness sakes, the internet now offers everything. You don't have to even walk into a library if you don't want to.
Yeah, I
So,
love the library. That was one of the first places when I started going places again after COVID. It was like, okay, I have to start going in the library. And so now I make my monthly trip to the library, and I look forward to it so much. And what am I going to bring home? What worlds am I going to bring home?
yes, exactly, exactly. So, I'm going to put your email up. So if people want to reach you,
Okay, yeah, that's my music email that you have.
right?
Yeah.
but still they could reach you
And they can
there.
reach me. Yeah, all my gazillion emails all reach me. They all come to one mailbox, so
Yeah.
it's all good.
Yep, and then they could, talk to you after they've read the book, or even if they heard the music.
Yeah, I would welcome that. I really
Yeah.
would, because I think it's going to be on a small enough scale that I can respond personally to everybody. And
Oh,
I would love that. I would
you
love to.
know, you know what I have discovered? One can respond to everyone, even if it's just sending them a little heart or a thank you or something.
Something.
And it's because everything is meaningful. Every
Hmm.
single person that emails you,
Absolutely, they
it,
matter. They
yeah,
matter. And if
exactly.
somebody cared enough about you to reach out to you, then reach back. I have one. I won't, mention anybody's names. I respect
No.
everybody's privacy, but an article I wrote for my previous employer,
Mm-hmm.
someone reached out to me from another country
Mm,
with she was going through something difficult, and the article was relevant to what she was going through, and she private messaged me. She found me on Facebook, because back then I had my last name on Facebook, which I do not anymore. Not
right,
because of that, I'm thrilled that I connected with her, but just for privacy, I don't have my last name on Facebook anymore. But she
right,
found me on Facebook. She private messaged me from the other side of the planet,
right.
and we have been friends now for like 5 years.
See,
It's and I feel so blessed.
exactly, exactly. That's why I'm saying that anybody who wants to email is so beautiful because you actually start that human interaction,
Yes,
even if
yes.
it's through the computer. So,
I know it's amazing, because when, like, you and I are old enough to know when the internet first came out, and
well,
you're told
yeah,
don't talk to anybody because it's all bad people. And I'm thinking, some of my closest friends I met online,
right,
and
exactly.
it's opened up a whole world, because a friend in India, a friend in Tennessee, a friend in
Mhm.
Arkansas, and these people I've kept in touch with for decades.
Right. And then, you say, "Oh, it's snowing over here. What is it doing over there?" Or what, "Oh, you took that trip. Send me pictures." And
Yes,
you get to
exactly.
meet each other's neighborhood, each other's countries, each other's
Yes.
area, and each other's lives through the internet, which is wonderful.
It's wonderful. It can be such a gift if people use it as the gift it's meant to be, and if not
Exactly.
trolls and meanies and stuff like that. If
Exactly.
people are just kind, it is
Mhm.
such a gift. It connects worlds. That was a lot of what we talked about in grad school. My advisor was huge, huge fan of the internet for spiritual connection, and oh God, I adored her. She was wonderful. She's not with the school anymore, but she was just so wonderful,
Mhm.
and I'm grateful to her, and she's a good part of what made my experience there so wonderful.
That sounds fantastic. Sounds fantastic. So we have a couple of minutes left. Is there anything else you would like to leave our audience with? That
Wow, there's a hard question. Just I think what I would leave the audience with is that no matter how old you are, there can always be something new and something exciting that can happen, because I never thought I'd be putting out a book in my 60s and feeling like I was embarking on this entirely new chapter of life.
Mhm.
And I want to keep making books even if nobody buys them, because I haven't realized how much of a calling it was until I did this one.
Mhm.
And I just feel like it's been such a gift to me, that to find out that I can do this. And so I would just say to anybody that's struggling out there, or thinks that everything passed them by and there's no more good stuff, like, as long as you're taking a breath, there could still be good stuff no matter how dark it gets. There's something magical that could still happen if you're open to it.
Very well. Very, very well said. Thank you very much.
Thank you for
And
having me. I was so scared, and this was so much fun.
you see, thank you to our audience. And as always, many blessings and love you. See you next week.